Can't get enough of Kelly and Ramya?
We're now on YouTube for you to indulge in highlights from our show. We are speaking now with author Desiree Da Costa. She's published a children's book, and it's called All About Me and Cerebral Palsy. It's based on her own experience, and she's hoping that her book can help others in the disability community, of course. It's very intentional. Desiree joins us now in studio to tell us more about her experience. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired the book for you. When did you write it? There's quite a bit of a story around that.
So I actually wrote it in COVID, and I wrote it because I was bored. And what inspired me to write it is my own lived experience with cerebral palsy. And I decided to, on the topic of cerebral palsy, because there isn't a lot of children's books that represent kids with disabilities.
Now, there was kind of like a first edition of this book, right? When you were much younger?
Oh, yes. So, so I attended a school for kids with disabilities from kindergarten to grade 1. Mm-hmm. The program ends in grade 1. And so the classroom project is for everyone to create an All About Me book to share with their new schools, kind of a way to break the ice or share a little bit about ourselves and our uniqueness. Whether that's, going through a mainstream school or another school for kids with disabilities. So I drew from my grade 1 classroom project to create a real book.
I love it.
Wow. And our main character in the story, of course, talks about this. So do we want to say it is biographical because what is highlighted, the descriptions of our main protagonist in the story, it kind of sounds like you, me, anyway. So is that more of your life when you drew upon that? And can you preview some of the experiences you've gone through that shaped your writing, other than that time that so many people have said they sat through pandemic period and were bored?
Mm-hmm. So I think the book is pretty relevant to my experience. The main character's name, some differences is that the name character's name is Gabriella, and I chose that name because a lot of people mispronounce Desiree. And in the book, Gabriella has a brother, but I have 3 sisters. So that's a little bit of difference there, but the rest is really drawing on, what cerebral palsy means to me and my experiences.
Okay.
Wow, that's beautiful.
We really, because it's a children's book, illustration is a big component in that kind of a style. So we want to take a peek at some of the illustrations in the book. And do you mind describing some of it for us?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, so tell us what kind of, drawing or illustration was inspired for the book.
Well, I just got connected with an illustrator through the publisher. And I don't know very much at all about, writing a book. This is my first time. Mm-hmm. So I kind of just looked on the internet of illustration styles that I liked. And I kind of submitted that. And then I was able to choose from 3 different portfolios of 3 different illustrators. And I kind of, picked the one that I felt matched my, vision and what I liked the best.
So can you give us some examples of the kinds of pictures in the book?
We would see, yeah.
Yeah.
So we would see Gabriella. She's a 7-year-old girl. She has long hair and bangs. And, we would see her in her day-to-day at her first day of school at her new school. And, she's showing her All About Me book, which includes images of her walker. She's getting off the school bus on an accessible bus, and she's using her manual wheelchair. And I really love the illustrations because they're so colorful and really captivates readers.
Lovely.
Desiree, tell me something. When you were asked to write the All About Me story for the class, would you say that for you was a real pivotal moment? And would you suggest that, because a lot of us are shy, we may not want to talk about ourselves. Maybe we don't even want to write something like that at first. We kind of like, I'm not comfortable, or I don't know how to do that. Mm-hmm. It seems like obviously it inspired you to write this book, but would you feel that would have worked for a good percentage of your class, that going forward, especially when you left and went to another school?
I think it was a really good experience because it was a way to kind of put all my thoughts and some of my experiences with cerebral palsy on paper to help, sometimes it's easier to have something physical in a little bit of like a show and tell scenario versus then just striking up a conversation. So that's what happened on my first day at my new school. We kind of did like a show and tell scenario. Classmates sat on the carpet and I read my book. And I think it was a way to answer a lot of my classmates' questions of like, why do I use a walker? Why do I use leg braces? Like things they could obviously notice without having them pepper me the questions.
Yeah, there's a kind of, it's almost a tool to focus on, right? Like this book, which has all the information, some of the science and explanation as well, but also, like you said, the Q&A can be directed at the book, which kind of softens the conversation a little bit. I may not be saying that in the most, PC way, but
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Well, I relate it back to time when I started to use a white cane, right? It kind of spoke for people, at least whether they knew what a white cane was or not. It either opened the door or it maybe explained a little bit without me having to, oh, by the way, I'm low vision. Who do you feel should read the book? And why?
Well, I think it's, two-sided. I hope that this kids with the disabilities can identify with this book because, like I said before, there's not a lot of children's books that represent kids with disabilities. But by the same token, I think, all children should read it, whether they're, typically developing or not, because then it just provides a little bit of a lens in terms of disability, whether, the child has a classmate with a disability or maybe a younger sibling and, they're starting to learn to understand, different needs within their family. So I think it's really for everybody.
Well, especially kids with disabilities. I find that even when I was reading through this book, it would help in the confidence boosting for people with disabilities to explain their own situations, to advocate for yourself, which when you're a kid, that's super hard. You're just kind of parroting what adults have told you, right? If you can do that. So in that way and in other ways, how can this book help other people with disabilities?
Well, mostly I just want them to enjoy it. Like going back to the illustrations, they're very beautiful, and it's just a way to, I want it to be a balance of like a learning experience, but also entertainment. Besides children's books, we don't even see a lot of either cartoon movies or TV shows with, representing characters with disabilities. So a lot of it is representation. But mostly to have fun, right? Want to pick a good story to read, before bed or at story time, and it rhymes and it's super cute, and everybody should get a copy.
Yeah. Well, you also presented at the legislature in Ontario.
I did.
And a lot of time, I think the adults are the ones who kind of need that more support to be comfortable with things they don't understand. How did that go?
Oh, it was fabulous. There in the photo, I'm with Minister Lecce. He was the education minister at the time, and Minister Michael Parsa, Minister of Children, Community, and Social Services. And they were just lovely, and I'm so happy that they took the time out of their day and invited me to go down to the legislature. We're just able to talk about the book and the importance of books like mine to support children in all of our communities.
Well, it's very important that we look at the bigger picture of books representing kids with disabilities, people with disabilities, especially in the children's lit side of things, right? We're talking, schools picking it up, libraries picking it up, and of course, parents picking it up and having their children exposed to it. So what about that do you want to touch on in terms of, parents kind of exposing kids to this type of content, whether you're able-bodied or not?
I've the feedback I received from some people that have purchased the book is that maybe their child doesn't have a disability, but they've bought an extra copy for their kids' schools, and I've received lots of positive feedback, and everybody's really enjoying the book, and it's just about more exposure, more representation, and it's nice to know that you know, that beyond the disability population, people are enjoying it and want, you know, visiting my social media or website, and it's really capturing people's attention.
Did you have a book
well,
like
I
this?
think that because it's good for subtle understanding, relating. And I think also as I read it, I felt so many of us are shy to get up and say, hey, this is me. I like this. I like that. Some people aren't. But I really felt that this was a tremendous way of ice breaking. Sorry, Ram, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if you had a book like this when you were growing up, something that you can think back to and say, it had that impact on me, the way that your book is having impact on others.
No, it's partly why I wrote it, because I didn't have, all I had was my made-up one that I made in school.
Yes.
But
You were your own inspiration.
that's right.
That's right.
Not really, there's no other kind of characters or you know, things in the media that I saw myself in.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that I'm able to create something that people can enjoy.
And relate to so
Yes.
easily, and wonderfully truthful and subtle, and I think that's wonderful. If people want to keep up with your work and what kinds of things are next for you, where should we go, and tell us a little bit about that?
So you can go to All About Me and cerebralpalsy.ca. There's the links of all the online stores that are carrying the books. Or you can follow me on social media at All About Me and Cerebral Palsy on my Instagram. And, you know, this is not my full-time job, so just taking things as it comes and just enjoying the moment of seeing the kind of the, how am I going to say, the trajectory of where the book is going to take me. And I'm very happy that to be here today, and I'm really enjoying the experience.
Yeah, and this is,
thank you.
of course, a type of product where, like, you know, anyone who's exposed to it, one person or a million people, you know, it's impactful and meaningful. So thank you so much for your time and for coming into studio to talk about your book.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching.
You can catch Kelly and Ramya weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern on AMI.